That's Toya.
That's Mike. And this is Tech Beats and Bytes. I had to get my point together.
What's going on?
It's Wednesday. You know, got to mix it up. Good day of the week. Chat it up. What's going on?
I mean, some Adidas came in today, so I'm happy about that.
Oh, good. Good. That's exciting.
Sorry, got some hate going on right outside the door.
You got to celebrate the good things. Anything.
Shit. So, I mean, Trump is still crazy.
Yep.
Nothing we can do about that right now.
Nope. We lost some important people.
Yes. We lost Chadwick Boseman. That was a heartbreaker for America, the world. Especially hard for young kids that finally had a superhero to look up to.
Yeah.
So, how are you dealing with that? How is Taco dealing with that?
He knows Black people
comprehend it.
He knows he's dead, just like he knew Kobe died.
Okay.
So, but I don't think he understands like what that means, right? So the idea of like he knows the word, but does he truly understand? Like he's not going to see him in Black Panther anymore. I'm not sure. But
you're gonna see him in some way, but
right. But you know what I mean. So I don't know if he understands like what that means going forward. Because when you see him on, like if he sees something on TV, he'll be like, "Oh, Black Panther, he's dead," and he'll just say it, and you're like, "Yes, he is." But I don't know if I don't know how that sits, internally. But
yeah, how are you taking it?
It was a blow. It was a blow, especially because you didn't know, and he's been doing so much. And I remember when we saw the Five Bloods on Netflix, and you could see his body composition was different. And I know we had a conversation about it here. We were like, well, he must be preparing for a new role, and you just saw his body transforming in real time. And I know that the internet this needs to take a chill sometimes because you don't know what's going on.
Right.
And everybody that was sort of like doing those memes and picking at him, it's like, well, one, he's an actor, so you never know. They take their bodies through so much anyway to get ready for roles. So why even take it to that extreme as some people did? And then to come to find out, he's doing his life's work while battling cancer. It's amazing. When you think about it, how much we kind of complain about stuff in our everyday lives, and we let the smallest things get in the way from us fulfilling our potential. Meanwhile, he's out there banging out the hits. Right. I mean, handling like amazing people on film. We saw Marshall not too long ago. I think that came out in, what was that, 2019 or 2018? It was.
Yeah.
And we saw it, and that was amazing, right? Because you're thinking Thurgood Marshall, Chadwick Boseman, they don't look alike, but man, he did that character, and he made you believe in that scene and in what he was doing with that. So he was an amazing talent. And then I saw Karen Hunter did an interview with Professor Greg Carr out of Howard, and then he was sharing a lot about who Chad was and what he went to school for. And just knowing that he was always kind of like about the people, about the content. And they talked a little bit about the gods of Egypt and how he took the role of Tahuti, because he was like, there's no way you're going to do gods of Egypt and not have a Black person in this film. So just coming from that perspective and being very intentional about the characters he portrayed was, it was amazing. So definitely a huge loss, but we have his work that lives on. So it's great to be able to see him still in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he got to do what he wanted to do. And I'm assuming, however it happened, it was because he constructed it and built it that way for the privacy. And, he didn't want the pity He probably didn't want the pity or the anything else. He just wanted to do his work. We'll never know. Whatever he chose to do,
Yeah.
it was private in his camp for a reason, because that was the way he chose to do it. Uh, it was harder for me because a couple of days before that, I had lost my own Black Panther. I had lost my little cousin. My cousin was 26 years old and he passed to COVID. And that was rough. You know, my aunt losing her only child, and my uncle that I'm really close with, Chris DJ Gump Peterson. That was his only son. So 26 years old, came back, fiance came back, and he was laying there dead. So it's just, it's a lot going on, and just want people to know doing stuff like this is actually uplifting. We speak to the community, let people know what's going on. But as it stands, COVID still sucks. Y'all still need to get out and vote. I want to see those same Popeye chicken lines at the voting polls. And I'm not even trying to be funny about that. I'm just being dead ass, because these are the consequences of what we're dealing with. Not Chadwick, but possibly my cousin, because he's in Alabama, and we know how Alabama was just going rogue, like we don't need masks.
Right.
Life is still happening around us, and right now life pretty much is still great, but there's a lot of things that suck. And I know people are like, well, how can you say things are great? You just lost your cousin. Other cousin was just murdered by police officers. Because I'm still alive, and I still have an opportunity. My cousin doesn't have that opportunity right now, so got to take advantage of what I can and be happy for what I have. So it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to need a break. It's okay to be sad. Not that you just lost Chadwick, not just because he won't get to play in another film. It's okay to be sad just because shit is fucked up right now. And you might just need a break. So I hope everybody out there is being strong. Hopefully we can bring a little bit of light to your life today as we share with you some historical moments of nightlife and how business transitioned, and how 17 minutes in a garage in a warehouse turned into a lifelong friendship and a big business. So Dante, if you could bring to the screen Nightlife Photo Guys. So we got Marcellus and Dread, the infamous.
Toya, what's up?
What it do? How you be?
Long time, baby girl, long time.
I know.
So I still haven't seen Marcellus all year face to face. I have gotten a chance to see Dread at least 3 times. As icons, y'all have been severed some of the pain, not all of the pain, because y'all still got other businesses. Y'all severed some of the pain of getting out of the nightlife game right before the shit just died right in front of us, because it's gone right now.
Yeah, it was lovely.
I just want to jump on that part real quick. How does it feel knowing that you avoided the impact of what's going on, even though we've talked and y'all have seen some things coming in advance that nightlife was going to change anyways, but knowing that you completely got out of it before everything hit, let's say starting after the purchase of David Gruntman's company, which we want to get into that because people don't know how much that affected Miami nightlife. How do you guys feel when you got out of the game right in time?
Start on now? Go.
Yeah. We felt great about it because, first of all, we kept talking back and forth how things were changing, and nobody could really understand what we were saying. We kept saying things are changing. It's not going to be the same. Just watch and see. And we were trying to build entities within what we were doing so that we wouldn't be affected. And kids was like, man, it's going to be here forever. We're going to always be able to go out and make that money. We're always going to be able to hit that club. We're always going to be able to do this. You know, and the more you talk to them, the more it was like tunnel vision. It was so tunnel vision to just see one direction, you know, and we was trying to see all the way around it. And sometimes we would battle for it, we would kick for it because not everybody was really interested in hearing the other side of it. Because we felt like, hey, this game is going to change. Are you going to be ready for it when it changes? I mean, that's pretty much how I saw it, he saw it. We kind of like, because when we used to ride around, we used to say, this going to change. You know, because even when we first started, it was like the 2 of us. People thought it was like 10 or 15 of us, and it was only 2 of us. Because how we did. Right. And then as we picked up the rhythm, going from club to club, he was like, who these 2 guys are? Who this guy, this crazy guy running around, you know, with a camera saying, I'm Nightlife Photo Guys, I'm NLPG. Who that? You know, because we would show up looking like professionals. but everybody else had their shirt hanging out and this hanging out, and they was like, it just didn't matter to them. It was like we took it as we were corporate, trying to present a corporate look to a group of people who wasn't used to getting it like that. And when we were trying to tell them, everybody was like, "Oh, I'm gonna always have my back up. I'm gonna always throw my back up in the club, and we're gonna always get money like this, because it's gonna keep coming. We in the hood."
Didn't work out that way.
Nope.
From my perspective, you could actually see it when the technology was changing, the technology was growing. It's kind of ironic. We wanted the technology to grow faster because we were ahead of the time. We wanted it to grow faster, and ironically, when it started to change, it started changing to a point where it affected everybody that made income inside of the clubs.
Right.
We were grateful for that movement, but we saw it coming, especially when Instagram started to take off. I don't know if people remember, Instagram was the only for iPhone, for Apple platform, for that Mac platform at that time. It wasn't even an Android-based app. You know, it took a little bit for it to turn into the Android-based app. Once it turned into that Android-based app, that's when I knew, you know, things was gonna be real different. Because we were the ones, I would say, and this is not bragging, I would say we were the ones pretty much. We were Instagram before Instagram. And what I mean by that is we were actually emailing people their pictures on the spot so they could put it on MySpace in the club so they could promote.
Yeah, that's classic right there.
That's how
We would actually shoot the picture. We'd actually shoot the picture, download the picture, and send it to them right then and there. So we had already set the platform forward, but didn't know that we were really setting the stage for what was about to happen with Instagram. Because everybody was like, "Yo, can I get my picture right now?" Because it was emailing. Yeah, we can email it to you. Right? You can email it right? Okay, fine. They lined up. That was like the thing.
So let's go back to that part. Remember, hotspot didn't exist.
I was just about to say, you got to talk about how y'all even got the stuff to them. Let's talk about that part first.
So hotspot didn't even exist. Sprint and T-Mobile created a beta version of the hotspot. And we had both of them. We had, I don't remember, Sprint used to have the one where you plug into the USB and had a little antenna on it. Right? And you had that little Wi-Fi. So we had the beta version, and then T-Mobile had the little
box.
The little box that you put it anywhere. It had about 2 feet. Right. You'll be able to use it. We tested it in the clubs. We tested it basically for T-Mobile, and when we sent our first pictures, they actually went through. But I don't know if people remember the limitation to the size of the picture. Like you literally could only send like less than a megabyte.
I was about to say you couldn't go more than a megabyte, so it's about 400 to 700 kilobytes that you could send for a photo.
It was real small, but we was
sitting there. What happened was we would actually sit there with the computer. We did something nobody else did. We brought the whole setup to the club. We brought the laptop. We brought the monitors. People could see their pictures when they got a shot. It was like, whoa, these guys are shooting it. You can see it right there. But at the same time, editing. He was editing, downsizing it so we could send it an email. I remember people used to pay a couple $dollars extra. Oh, yeah, I want to pay extra to get them sent to their phone, to their email, and then they would take it from their email and put it to their phone. They'll have it, you know. And it got to the point we was doing it for funerals. We were doing it for everything.
Anything that needed branding, we literally took the club and made it corporate. We made the club Disneyland, Disney World.
Yeah.
Everything that we shot, everything that we printed, everything that we emailed had a brand on it, had a company brand on it, had our company information on it. If it wasn't our company brand, it was the company that was paying us to brand that actual image. So before they even thought about a photo booth or anything like that, we literally were putting the club information on the picture. People would put it on MySpace, and then people would actually come to the club from that particular picture.
I recall when we would go to people's houses to shoot them, because what we did was got to the point where not only did we brand it there, but you know how you had before, you used to have the little border around the picture. There was a little white border. We started taking the white border to advertise things that were coming.
Right.
before any, like if you had a was coming next week, well, you could buy that space, and we sold that to you, and we saw, okay, this is coming next week.
Y'all literally saw every inch of the photo before you cut somebody else.
Every inch of the photo. It was creative. It was creative and photo.
The whole freebie model too, which we'll get into, I'm sure, in a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
But really quick question, because you talked about technology and how you guys were ahead of the trend. Once those sort of standalone photo booths became a thing, did you invest in those and start using those as an extension of your business, or by that time y'all were kind of done with it?
No, we was fighting it.
We was fighting because we didn't want to. Because first of all, the photo booth was a good thing, but a bad thing, because what it did is it took the element of communication out of it, and it took the element of, because I mean, I used to do some. People that know me that if you didn't want to buy a picture, I literally stood there on one leg and rocked back and forth on one leg and take a picture. And it was like, what the hell? I got to buy a picture just because this fool is standing on one leg. And when that wasn't enough, then I just do the matrix thing. It was like, oh, hell no.
Shot. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, no way we're going to not get a picture from this guy who's doing all this and entertain it. So it became entertainment, because what we did, we started doing Cavassier. We was Absolute, all of them. We actually became the branders for them. They hired us to go out and actually market their products through pictures.
And that was beneficial to us, but all of those were from recommendations, basically, people that believed in us. So, it's a lot of people, shout out, that helped us get, to those levels. I mean, we went from the club. I mean, we would shoot different things. We didn't have like a lane. We never had like a lane. So we would shoot a club at night, be in the studio in the morning. We had a funeral at 3:00. Shoot a funeral and shoot something for the mayor the same day. So that memory card will have so much variety on it that it was pretty hard to keep track of. I mean, it was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week type of situation, because everybody wanted something
all the time. And it was like, how do you live up to 24 hours a day? It was like we got to the point where we was literally sleeping in the van and treating. We created I did this thing where we could actually print and edit and everything in a van, moving as we went from club to club and still putting this stuff out. Yeah. It was insane.
Yeah, it's a different ball game now,
though.
Totally. The game is different.
The hustle is different. Everything now. So speaking of variety, how are you all able to do that, right? Because oftentimes people will get pigeonholed into one particular lane because that's how they see them in their business. How are you able to cross over into doing different services? You talked about doing government contracts, doing actual personal funerals, birthdays, whatever, and outside of the club scene. What was sort of your tactic there? Because oftentimes, as an entrepreneur, you want to make sure that you have multiple streams of income. So you were able to achieve that within your business. Talk a little bit about how that happened.
So the clubs was the main thing. So the clubs created an avenue that the promoters actually promoted. They brought the people to the club, obviously, and those people came to the club and they seen our capability. Right. Then it turned into like, we met everybody in the club. And I tell you, everybody, it created a tour. I mean, we created so much respect in those clubs because we didn't leak every single photo. Mm-hmm. So there's certain things that we kept that built trust with other people that didn't put us on board. I mean, we went from meeting congressmen, senators, mayors.
We even did stuff for the government where we were actually going to their seminars and document all their stuff.
Right. So,
and then from that we went to
that came from Jazz in the Garden.
Yeah, that was a Jazz in the Garden. Jazz in the Garden. That's right.
That contract came from Jazz in the Garden. It was funny, yeah, and it came from Chrisette Michelle.
Because guy comes up and says, "Can you shoot my artist?"
He probably watching.
Dixon. The Dixon group. I was actually shooting on stage, and the guy says, I like what you're doing. You really going in. Can you shoot my artist? I'm like, your artist? Yeah, no problem. Come to find out, his artist was Cassette Michelle. I said, what?
I think that was the third Jazz in the
Garden.
Third Jazz in the Garden. She was on like at 5 o'clock, so really nobody really was there. And like everybody was there.
We always shot things. We always gave it 100, no matter whether it was 10 people in a spot or 100 people in a spot. And if we shot it, you would never know if the place was full or not full because of how we shot it. Right. So you could have a small party, and we glum them all together and made it look like the club was packed. And all of a sudden, because we put a picture out, he put it on Facebook, boom, all of a sudden, people would be there. They were like, man, y'all made the party look like it was big and with 20 people. Right. So all those things really made us really do different because Jazz in the Garden, I mean, I gotta say, what's the name, Shirley Gibson?
Right.
Shirley Gibson was such an open-minded mayor. That she opened a lot of doors that we never even saw.
Well, we shot the inauguration of Miami Gardens. So all of the actual photographers that shot
for the city of Miami
Gardens for the first time that
ever happened.
Nice.
The actual mayor, and we became good friends with
the whole
staff.
The staff, and then all of a sudden you had other senators and people, I mean, with Kendrick Meeks and
Kendrick Meeks put us with Spike Lee. So nice to see a picture of Spike Lee.
Really, what was popping?
It was like here.
But we met all of these people most likely
in the club. At the club.
I mean, it could be any club, but anything in Miami. Most of the clubs that we shot at are gone now.
Yeah. I mean, we look at they're gone and they're
gone.
At the same time,
shout out to Club Play.
Yep, Club Play
/ Loot.
Yep. and even this, you gotta look at, Mike Gardner, all of them, BB, all of those guys, they opened us, at one point it was like this. You can't pass go, because first of all, we was this, and everybody else had the monopoly, and we was like, we ain't going nowhere. I remember we used to be outside of that club down on the beach, Santos. Santos literally barred us from the club, literally, when we first got there. It was like, no, we got exclusive. We don't want nobody else in. But what happened is, we would already done shot the people in the daytime. So when they go to the club, they come in the club, they would stop outside the club, hold conversations with us, Diddy, making it a band, all of that. They would all sit outside and talk to us, and they'd be like, what the hell? Y'all supposed to go in the club. Well, no, this is Dredd and Marcellus. They the shit. The bomb. We gotta recognize them. So what we would do, we would sit out in front of the club and shoot out in front until the promoters would get so aggravated with it. You got to come inside because you get stuff that we're not getting inside outside. You just had to have that. People today are afraid, fear. We never had nothing. I mean, I remember so many events that. I remember one time you pull up to an auction, a high-end auction. And you said, you ain't gonna get in there. And I said, watch this. I went over there, threw my camera on his shoulder, walked in there, signed the paper, I went right on past. I'm in there with millionaires shooting. Same thing with the what? When the Heat won the game?
That comes with everything.
Everything.
First championship for the Heat.
The Heat, we inside with all of that.
Yeah, that was, but no access.
We had no access. We just we looked like we were supposed to be there. We acted like we were supposed to be there. And we always respected the people that were there. And somebody saw us before would say, "Hey, oh that's bad. Oh that's Marcellus." They go
right.
So you had the brand recognition. What do you feel? I remember the moment I was telling everybody about on your intro was the historic meeting between Medium 4 at the time before this meeting. It was still Nightlife Photo guys and Mocha Cafe with Kai Footman.
Oh my God.
Mocha Soul,
yeah. So 5 brothers sitting in the warehouse, and just so everybody know, we're sitting in the warehouse, and the conversation was literally, how do all 5 of us work together and make sure we're millionaires within the next 10 years and remain friends? That was pretty much the base of the conversation.
Pretty much it.
And how do we go to the next level? Because doing clubs and doing promotions ain't gonna be enough. So Medium 4 started doing corporate and city stuff. Nightlife photo. I'm gonna tell you guys part last. Kai Footman now has his own complete printing. Has a whole T-shirt printing company, just garment printing, direct to garment, doing great with his business. And then that night, probably one of the most historic logos was designed in about 7 minutes, and that was from beginning. We're sitting there, and then I was like, Marcellus, Dred was probably still shooting and doing something. I think he was still messing with the cameras. And I looked at Marcellus. I was like, "But bro, if you're gonna move outside of the clubs, y'all can't be nightlife photo guys. Y'all bigger than the nightlife. Let's just go NLPG." And Marcellus was like, "Yeah, that worked." And Dred turned around. He was like, "That's it." I was like, "Well, what's gonna be the logo?" And we looked, and of course, because Dred is still holding the camera, I was like, "What's one universal thing on all cameras? The power on button."
Yep.
So I was like, "Let's just simplify it. That's your logo." Dante runs to the car, gets his laptop, designs the logo, turns the screen around, and the next thing I know, Marcellus was like, "Cool, we'll have it on a shirt in a couple of days. Let's go with that. Send it over."
You know the funny thing about that? Everybody knew us by that logo. And if we sent someone else out with a shirt with that logo on, they literally gave them pass go. That's how that logo.
I've been a conversation. I'm not gonna give that exclusive here. They're gonna have to come to Fuck It Is the Mic On. That's the conversation that me and Marcellus had about the guy getting into a Rick Ross event all the way in Chicago because he was recognized by his shirt, not by anything else. So
I'm telling you, it's like
when you guys made that shift, your name shift, which of course comes with some attitude arrangement and business development. How did the money start shifting when people had to recognize y'all were no longer just the guys in the club? You were literally capturing the image of the city and at the same time capturing some historic moments, because y'all got all the stuff when Young Money first came over here and Cash Money came over here when they had moved from New Orleans because of the storm. Y'all got stuff that people don't even know y'all have. Y'all pretty much have a history of Miami culture developing to become the epic center of entertainment that it's become. But how did people start shifting their attitudes towards you when they realized it was no longer just club life? You were doing real business.
Locally, it was hard for us to transition because everybody knew us as nightlife photo guys. They just knew us as nightlife photo guys, and we kept the acronym, NLPG. But NLPG actually changed to Next Level Photography Group when we LLC'd it. So it was nightlife photo guys, and then we went to Next Level Photography Group with the new logo. In the corporate world was easy. It was easy to transition, especially when we were doing product placements. Or shout out to Sharice, Tanya. We had a lot of connection in that liquor game.
That liquor game was
my boy Joseph. We had a good connection with the liquor game. When we started coming outside of Miami, meaning even Fort Lauderdale, because Fort Lauderdale was different for us. The money increased very fast with that new logo.
Everything changed. Everything changed.
Because the nightlife name was gone. So literally now we are to the point where the invoices. So let's go to this. The real answer to that. Universal Music Group.
Thank you.
Drop them names.
Right.
Cut the check, and that's what changed
the game.
So we had a nice little check through Universal Music Group with that logo, and then it just that invoice ended up being a real invoice at that point. Like that's what we used as our invoices. So the money changed at that point, and that was.
So that's why Dante saying he need his logo and he stopped commenting. Dante said he need money.
Y'all better look at the private chat.
Yeah. So
that was the time that we did. Matter of fact, it was funny because I had been asking a particular producer. I said, "Yo, man, let me shoot your artist. Let me shoot your artist. Always want $350, right? Is it $350?" He said, "No. How about this? Universal calls up, say they got a budget."
I don't think we could tell this story, man.
Okay.
Man,
Good. That's good.
We got a disclaimer on
Yeah,
that.
we could.
No.
I remember. So I'm like, hey, I come, we show up at that spot, and we show up at a particular person's house, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's that nightlife photo guy, right?" Turn around, no, we NLPG, and this is what the invoice is going to be. Oh, did you say 350? No. We're with Universal now. Shoot. So now
the artist ended up being on Universal, and through our connection, that Universal called us, and it looked like they were sending a New York photographer down. So when we showed up, it was more like, what? Oh, these dudes, we gonna get these photos, but now we already in with Universal. We can't
give you
the images.
Hold on. So we got to get this for people that understand. This is knowing your worth and knowing your value. And as we also call it, you should have bought my rookie card when I was still a rookie.
Thank you.
How much did the price change from $350? What did it end up going?
It was 10 times the amount.
It was 10 times the amount.
For less images.
For less images and less work.
For 10 images, when you would have got a whole disc.
For $350.
So they went from $350. First of all, I know Marcellus how you shoot. Dread, I know you be just holding the click button and focusing in between. So they went from 280 something photos for $350 to 10 photos for $3,500.
Thank you.
Look, hey guys,
and you have to wait. And you got to wait for the images.
And you got to wait for the images because Universal.
Y'all used to get right on the spot and say, "Go, y'all good to go."
They needed those images that day because it was promoted for Memorial Day weekend. I'll forget it.
Yeah. And we went
for the community. This ain't even gonna be alone. This just that quick. Someone needs to hear this. Y'all need to know the value of the people that surround you, because that is a prime example of moving on somebody's rookie card. Like, you just a rookie. I don't need you. If you know somebody talented, just pay them for what they're worth. Because I saw the transition happen, but we're storytellers. We got to let other people tell their story. And the biggest thing is when that name changed, our mindset changed. Because that's when we were like, okay, yeah, we definitely, because everybody was still building per project. And me and Dante were having a hard time explaining to people we bill by the hour. And it was hard for people to grasp that, like, what you mean? Everybody do flyers for $85, not us. Because we know y'all like to make 18 changes and 20 of y'all cousins get put on the flyer at the last minute. So I was like, we bill by the hour. So if you got everything at one time, we can do it for $85. But if I got to keep making changes throughout the week because your time changing, who appearing changing, and everything changing, that's now $500 flyer, fam. So either get your information together, but it was having these people around, Marcellus, Kai, and Dread, having them around to say, no, we know our worth. Let's stick with it. So you guys just killed the image game, and we know what happened between technology. And y'all were there when we were trying to pitch the ear card, so we understand the value of being ahead of your time and collecting data. So you get into empowerment and you get into transportation and advertisement. Tell us about how that world comes, because a lot of people always think you guys are split, and it's almost like people assume when you don't see somebody together, they're not working together. Not understanding it's like the Thundercats and it's like Transformers. You separate to go do your own thing and you come back together when you need to. So y'all started doing your own thing separately, which people may see visually, but always working on the back end. What kind of things have you guys been getting into now that, like with Freebie, Dread, I think you don't want people to know, but I know. But there's so much empowerment things that are happening. What are you guys doing now that people may not be aware of, but stem from the long-term friendship that you guys still have to this day?
Well, me personally, I transitioned probably in 2012. Was when I noticed it, and I transitioned over to a company named Freebie, which is a electrical car service right now, equivalent to Uber or Lyft or locally, last mile situation. We started off basically taking people around South Beach for free. But the company's concept was based off of advertisement. So the advertisers would advertise on the car. It would be like a moving billboard, and the drivers would be like brand ambassadors. You know, we basically speak on the actual brand of that particular car, which is an exclusive brand. So if you're a Ciroc or anything like that, you literally would brand the actual car, and the driver will become your brand ambassador. And took that concept. That concept was, we started off with like 7 cars. The company started off with the 2 owners named Jason Spiegel and Chris Kimball. You know, they from Philly, but they went to young cats. They came out just like that. Amir Youssef, which is my boy from Chop Shop. I don't know if all y'all remember Chop Shop.
Blank check on my arm, baby. Cut the check. Cut the check.
Boy, Bear from Chop Shop Barbershop, you know, put me on. He was the one that put me on with Freebie, and that was that transition that I knew I needed with that nightlife. So when you were talking about how we got out of the nightlife, I needed that transition at that moment, because that year that I switched over, we were heavy in King of Diamonds. We were real heavy in King of Diamonds. I mean, I was coming out of there every night smelling like what? Baby oil, switch speeds. Which is bad, you know.
Save the details.
You know, 10 hours later, you know, then I'll go in and do my thing with Freebie and Amir and the gang, and it became overwhelming. And at that point, you know, my grandmother passed. So that was like a transition for me that I needed. You know, my grandmother passed, I got divorced, you know, things were just going crazy. We had the camera equipment stolen, you know, everything was just coming down, and I needed to get out of that space. I needed to get into a space that was more family oriented, you know, a regular lifestyle for myself. We just didn't have no time frame. But with Freebie, it gave me stability, less money. I was making less money than, you know, NLPG. You know, we were
killing it.
We ain't saying no numbers, but we built a lot of studios with that money, and we built a lot of good friendships and things like that. And from that, I took on, you know, a role with Freebie, and I grew with Freebie. So to today, I'm still Freebie. But Dread, you know, is like a big brother. You're old enough to be my daddy. I know y'all don't know that. Dread is old enough to be my dad.
So let's put a pin in that real quick. Dread, for the people that still think you only 40-something, early 50, can you go ahead and just tell us how long you have blessed this soul?
Well, I tell you what.
That's how y'all know people. You know, when they say they're old as dirt, you just got to say bless the soul.
Well, I tell you what. I've been around a long time, a very long time. Well, you know, it's a funny thing, because when I started doing tours and people started seeing my passport, it was like, no freaking way.
Wow.
No way that you are twice my age.
Yeah.
They be still saying no way. And I thank God, because I put a lot of energy and effort, and I've never really done 2 things to damage my body. So I kind of look at myself, I look at people around me and be like, why you falling apart? I'm older than you and you falling apart.
Yeah.
We overwork.
You need to tell them that part though, Dred. You got to tell them the part that you told me. As much as you was in the nightlife, you don't smoke and you don't drink.
I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't get high. I focus on my and eating properly, and at the same time I'm a workaholic towards trying to build something different for Black people, because I really got to think for my people, waking the freak up, because they sleep and they keep sleeping, not realizing that, guess what? We are not studying financial goals and objectives that other folk have before us. We don't read. We don't read. You know, and I come from a time where you had to read or you was outdoors. They didn't have no. I remember when I first started doing whatever I was doing before I came down here. You couldn't turn on no YouTube and get free access to the world. You couldn't turn on what? I had to buy a server. I had to buy a T2, drag it down in the middle of the hood, and try to get somebody who had graduated from college to come in and do what? Do the server? Like, we take things so much for granted as a people in time. But it doesn't mean that technology doesn't change us, because it does, but it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Because I'm not going to tell a kid to put down a phone, because now today I can pick this up and this is a full-fledged computer. You mean to tell me you broke and you can broadcast, or you can make a movie, or you could do anything or sing a song and you ain't doing it? Something's wrong with this picture. And we still broke as a people? I don't get that, because then I'm gonna tell you, I'm older than I'll probably put all you guys' age together, and I'm probably you guys' age all together. You know what I'm saying?
But I think that's a good segue, and it's something me and LaToya talked about, and it's actually something that was scary that I saw. They did the basis of conversations between 8 and 12 years old of what they want to become when they grow up. Russia was astronaut, United Kingdom was vlogger or influencer, and the United States was vlogger or influencers. So people want to do this but don't understand the business of it. And we've had conversations where we give away too much for free. And then you turn around and you see something like Versus, where Swiss and Timbaland are just shaking up the music game, where if they're smart, the only thing I see next is Versus becomes a tour. You have the Versus tour of those artists touring together. That would be their next phase.
Right.
You normally see the future and people have these tools and just give it away for free. What do you think we're giving away for free now that we're not making money as a people? Because we do still control a lot of the culture that influences things.
Right. I still think that, like I said before, I still think that
knowledge. I mean, basically, we always gave our knowledge.
Always.
I mean, like, there's nobody out there that can say we charge them to learn how to do what we do. NLPG images, when we started it, you never said Dread of NLPG images shot this photo, or Marcellus of NLPG images shot this photo. It was just NLPG image. And the reason for that was for a newcomer, a new up-and-comer photographer that wanted to get in the game, they can actually go to the website, have a business card, go into an establishment and say that's them. Yeah. And nobody can argue that they did not shoot that picture. They can have a whole portfolio from the beginning instead of having to have a 5-year, career to show, what you did, what's your portfolio. So the whole team shot celebrities. But who shot that celebrity on our website? So you can't debate it. So a person can go from Miami to Chicago and go into a radio station and say, this is my website, and they can clear them immediately, not even seeing without seeing them actually take a photo or a picture. So they literally can walk in the door with no experience. And that was the goal, and that's basically what was happening, especially with us in the radio stations here.
Yeah,
it gave us a lot of love, man.
So you were opening up doors with basically free intellectual property. Your thing was you can use our skills to take yourself to the next level.
Exactly.
But y'all still do that now, because the thing y'all look at it, y'all are doing that right now in every field that y'all work in. Y'all pass on knowledge, and it's like, if you want to leave, you can leave. But if you want to keep growing, you'll stay here and keep growing.
Yeah, I don't want you working for me. I want you to own your own company, and you know what I'm saying? You move on. So all the photographers that we have at some point, they're all doing something that they want to do. I believe. I mean, we can shout them out. We got AJ doing his own thing.
AJ Corbin, right?
Yeah, AJ. Tracy doing up. Corey doing well out there. Jasmine doing well up in Orlando. We got a whole bunch of people that just actually moved on,
but still doing some of the same things that we're doing with us.
A lot.
Yeah, it's like, I remember when we first started, we would buy cameras, and people would say,
right?
And say, here's the camera. We want you to learn how to use this camera. You mean to tell me you're gonna give me a brand new camera that you just bought? I'm gonna take my camera and say, here you go, you can shoot with this.
$3,000.
What?
In the club.
Nobody does that. And if, I used to hear people say, "Are you crazy?" It's a product, but I can teach somebody to do something that can last for a time. So whatever we do, we was all about sharing. We never ever said, "Okay, you work for NLPG." No, we work as a team. We are building a brand for when you walk out the door, you are still NLPG, whether you shot, who I shot, or he shot, or anybody shot, because nobody knows that. We know who shot what, but you still got that feeling of being, I'm not lesser than, but I'm on the same level.
And that's the power of collective economics. When you sort of think about, and going back to your point earlier about, giving back, right? And how you design your companies to do that and to empower other people. That speaks volumes as to who you are and your vision for the future, right? Because you built your company based on the idea of empowering and uplifting others to then spread their wings, right? So it's not about creating, you trying to build your own brand for yourself. You're doing it for the collective good of everybody. And I know, Mike, the point that you wanted to get into was the future and what you guys are doing and the empowerment in the community, sort of activism, I guess you want to speak into. So let's talk a little bit about that. What are you guys kind of focusing on now that is doing that? Because right now, to your point, we're in trouble, right? There's a lot going on. We need to pay attention to the elections, right? There's COVID. There's just a lot going on that's affecting our community. So dive into that for a second.
I think that personally, when it comes down to that, and what I see, even at this point, I've changed back to something I was doing 20 years ago. And I think Mike kind of got a view of it, because I saw us as a people still stagnant of being able to let go of all of what we think we know. Forget about what we know, what we think we know. And we are not willing to absorb the difference. We're still set in a culture shock, I think. And that culture shock is that, and this is what I do now, I kind of go towards sensuality, sexuality, and uplifting your mind to release yourself on a different level of knowing who you are. Because I believe a lot that we are so stigmatized by what we were taught. Everybody was taught that we had to go to school, we had to graduate with a degree, we had to do this, we had to do that, but not realizing that we are hurting each other when we don't try to prop up each other. So my thing is mentally and physically at the point of realizing that our bodies and our minds shape where we're going. And at the same time, sensuality, sexuality, all that plays a big part of it, but we've been stigmatized to the point where we locked out of that. We lock ourselves out of that because, and I don't know if I can say certain things on here, but we're locked out of our own sexuality. We're locked out of our own sensuality. We're locked out of our mindset. That's why we can't think beyond Trump's, or we can't think that, okay, we're in a Trump situation, but how do we use that to our advantage? Or do we just say, oh, we need to change this, we need to change that? We're changing within ourselves first, and then we can change the world. But the problem is we don't choose to sit down and realize how many things that you learn as a little girl. They might have told you, don't go outside and put your dress over your head because that's what the girls don't do. But then you go to the club and you see a girl with a dress, no dress. You be like, I was taught this, but this is how it is. Politically correct. We're so busy trying to be politically correct to one another that we won't be truthful with one another. We will not tell each other the truth. And that is a big problem. I see you going down a road, and I know you're going to hurt yourself. And I won't stop and pull you back because I'm so egotistical about making myself look better than what I am. Presenting my, people used to come to me, fake it till you make it. When I always say that, I hated people who said, let's fake it till you make it. Why? Because if you really let people see who you really are, they're either going to help you rise or they're going to make you fall.
It's funny you say that because that's a saying from our close friend David. And one thing David always says, and it's from Fontaine, I'm going to continue using it. Some of y'all don't want to win. You just want to look good losing.
Thank you.
And it's a lot of people out there that don't embrace, and there's so much self-hate where I think, Marcellus, we've talked about this. There's plenty of situations that as a unit, not our unit, a unit being South Florida, that we could have overcame, but we just don't like to work together because then you don't get all the fame and the shine. And certain people won't do stuff if their name. It's almost like, the person that won't join a collaboration or a song if they don't get to anchor the song. Like, yo, I'm the best. I'm supposed to close out the song. Is it about closing out, or is it about just dropping dope bars every time you get a chance to get on the song? And I think there's too many people that if they can't anchor it or get the credit, they don't want to just be a part of it. But I remember in that warehouse, a part of our conversation was, we don't need everybody to know who we are. We just need them to know who our companies are. And we just need to make impact. The money will come. And that was one of the things I've addressed in a note I wrote. And one of the things I realized with a previous project we was working on, it was never about money with our crew. It was always about impact of a legacy, because we didn't know how it was going to work or how it was going to go. So we were just more excited about making an impact. The money was secondary. The impact was everything.
Can I ask you something? Based on the transition that I made, opposite of my partner, I went back to doing something, and I don't have a problem about it. And my platform is based on this. I watched people set platforms for their people. And that one of the platforms is an adult platform. And I asked somebody, when that platform came to this city, I came and visited. And I gave an invitation to every Black entrepreneur that was in that platform of adult business to come and see what I was doing. I had 13 people come back to my space. And they said to me, it's no way that you are a Black man in Miami with this type of thing and nobody don't know about it. And the fact is that you're willing to risk this, because I'm willing to risk, because I done risked it before, and I'll do it again, because I feel like everything has a place. There's a place for adults, there's a place for kids, there's a place for this. But couples, I have centered in now trying to uplift them and bring them more bonding together based on the fetishes, the eroticism. Like basically, I go to erotica. And when I go to erotica, I see 7 people that are there set up. So I said, guess what? I am on that same platform. Come see what I'm doing. I teach fetishes. I teach adults how to interact with one another so they can stop breaking up and make up and do what they do and not feel guilty about it. So I went in that direction. And I found that people say, oh, my church don't do this and this, don't do that. But then I found pastors and other people and lawyers and doctors that come and see my services and involve themselves in my services and say why there are not more Black people doing this, or why this. And we're still doing the same thing. He's doing the freebie, which does that. I do something that I think is empowering adults and couples to know themselves sexually and sensually. And don't have no fear for that.
Go ahead and say the platform. Say it. What is it? You know what I mean?
The platform is basically bondage and fetish and eroticism built on empowering Black people to know how to free themselves sexually and innovatively so that they can now become more of themselves instead of sneaking around. You don't got to sneak around. Be honest and forthright with your partners so you build relationships. So many relationships are broken because you can't speak to your girl and I can't speak to you. I can't tell her I like my foot spanked or my neck choke or this, that, or that. And you can't feel that you can be real. Start telling the truth about how you feel. People refuse to be truthful with themselves, so we keep holding ourselves back. So what? You like your toes being in olive oil? Well, then tell your woman, tell your partner, tell whoever, and be open about that. But we won't do that. So I took on that banner and said, guess what? Come on and see me. I'm going to show you how to do this right. I'm going to show you how to do this. You want to tie somebody up? I'm going to show you how to tie somebody up. I'm going to show you how to spank somebody. I'm going to show you how to do all these things. But these are platforms.
You're a coach, or you do like online classes? How do you show up in that space?
Well, basically, prior to the pandemic, I would do private classes where I would host 20 people coming in and teach you. You know, one guy says, "Man, I always wanted my wife to do this and that." So I showed him how to do a squirting orgasm. She was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I could do this." What? Black people don't do that.
Calm down, Mike. Calm down.
Black people don't do that. Oh,
but you know what? Okay, I'm gonna tell you. But this is the thing. The reason why I'm laughing is because I've had these conversations with Dredd, and there's certain industries that don't lose money. Adult entertainment is an industry that doesn't lose money. It's $1 billion industry that's never lost. And unless somebody can argue with me, y'all are talking about streaming. Like, you got to think, all these platforms are just coming out with streaming content. That was all constructed and put together by the porn industry. The reason why you see Blu-ray, DVDs, and everything else is because the porn industry said they didn't see any value in it, because they still sell the most units out of all featured films. So there's a part of technology that's related to, if you want to know why internet speeds went up, it wasn't because we were sending larger files of people filming their cats and everything. It was because the porn industry needed to stream more content. There's a certain part of money that if you take out any of your beliefs, if you don't like the adult entertainment industry, if you don't like porn, if you don't like fetishes, whatever, there's a certain part of money that you can't ignore. And that's a multi-billion-dollar industry that if you don't know how much they control the internet, if you don't know that all you guys that are going to Pornhub and you're like, oh, why is it free? Because they're washing billions of dollars, because Pornhub is not even owned in the United States. They're washing money. They run their own advertisement. And there's a whole documentary about it. But you got to know how money moves to know what certain things are going on. And once you ignore a particular sector of money, you don't know the dynamics of the impact of how it's affecting everything else. Nobody came out with a 4K camera because they wanted to see Superman up close. It was because of something else. And the stuff they wanted to see up close was very live and personal. Oculus lenses, point of view, PPE, was not because somebody wanted to see a basketball game in real life or somebody cooking. They didn't want to see somebody cooking looking down, but there were certain things they wanted to look at looking down. You can ignore that fact because it makes you uncomfortable. But having worked with West Coast Productions, having worked with Adam and Eve, and some of these large corporations that I've worked with that are, you think the film industry in California is crazy? The porn industry in California, North Carolina, New York, and Florida is on a whole different level. So I laugh because this is informative to some people, but I see the millions of dollars we miss because it's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. I walked away from millions of dollars because I didn't want to ruin a brand image when I was doing marketing for adult entertainment. I was like, oh, that's going to ruin me. I probably wouldn't have got certain jobs, but let me tell you, when I walked away, I was managing 6 girls that were making $250,000, and my primary job was to bring them to the East Coast to dance for 6 songs. They would do 2 sets, 3 songs, and get off the stage, and that was it.
So, but at the same time, ask yourself a question. We as Black people don't notice that we are in that, and we're spending most of the money. We're spending most of the money. We spend most of the money. We make all the money, and we get a fraction of the money. Hello, how long is it? Porn is the highest selling porn. Yeah, we don't own it, and that's the problem. That's what Joe Budden has been talking about this week. That's what Dame Dash has been talking about. You know, all these people like Spotify, they're trying to own the content, but we don't own the platforms. Because what is Spotify if they don't have the artist? What is Spotify selling besides streaming? So even right now, you guys are probably watching us on Facebook. What if nobody posted anything on Facebook for 7 days? What would Facebook have to offer? We're the creators. They're just a platform to put the content of the creativeness onto it. And it doesn't matter what that content is. You got to know the power of the content you're creating. And Marcellus, we talked about that even with the art world, with what Amir was doing, with the advertisement, with Freebie, all the way down to the fact when we was talking about your nail shop, your hair salon shop. We put the products out and we don't own the products, but we're part of that $1 trillion beauty industry, but we don't own the little stuff. We don't own it. And I keep saying it. Why we don't own it? Own it. What's the problem? It's like, that's the key factor. It's like,
made us different as NLPG. We owned everything. Printers, we owned it, so we dictated the price. We dictated the price point. We dictated our marketing. We dictated everything that we
did. I mean,
there was nothing other than I need to buy this camera, I need to buy this lens, and we couldn't dictate that price, but we made enough money to get that price. Or we can negotiate because we're buying a lot of it. We're not buying one. We're not buying two. We're buying a lot of it. So we built our own studios so photographers could be able to come in and make money with that studio and not have to pay us. We owned it. You could come in here, you could shoot it, you could charge what you want to charge, and you can leave.
Live, enjoy. Bless.
But you know what I'm saying? You in return, you helped us build. You helped us. But then, grab these clubs, grab these events, grab everything. But we own every entity of what we all. We own the compound, literally.
Yeah.
Literally own the compound.
We had like
that last studio was the compound.
Yeah, we had like 5 spaces. What, black people got 5 spaces in a place where the rest of the place is white? We were the only people there that was black.
That wasn't the only studio. I mean, like that was our last.
Yeah,
not our last.
That was the last.
That was the second to last. But before that, I mean, then we owned like 4 or 5 studios. We built 4 or 5. Dre built these studios by hand. So that's the crazy part about having a partner like this is he don't sleep. I have ideas. He have ideas. I'm not hands-on with that. I'm more, in the street. Corporate. I could turn it corporate. I could turn the street to corporate. I could turn a baby shower into a corporate party. I could turn a corporate party into a hood party at that point. We could change the dynamics of all of our jobs. Because Dre alone, I mean, when I say alone, literally builds studios. And that was the biggest, I would say the biggest asset of us growing is that we never had to have somebody build out our studio. We never had to have a person come in and lay video and build it out. We'll go make the money, buy the equipment, buy all the pieces, and you wake up in the morning and it'll be a site wall Dre just built.
Speaking of Dred, you need to save Dante. He needs somebody to redo his kitchen, and he was very upset that no black person can give him a quote and do his kitchen.
Yeah, because I can give him a quote and I can put him on the game. Because I tell you that that's the thing. It's like I tried, and it's so funny because as this COVID thing came in, I was doing the little fetish parties and I was doing my little teaching and education. All of a sudden, I can't have nobody. So all of a sudden, somebody says to me, "Come out to my place." A black-owned optometrist. He says, "Man, my place is looking kind of shaky. You come over and do it." How about this? I'm in there building the place. I'm playing it. No kids ever. Guy says, "Oh, can I get your number?" And the guy looks back and said, "Oh, hell no. You the guy who do the thing back like this with the camera." He said, "Man, you do all this too?" Building. That's the thing. We won't take. I try all the time to get a young kid to come along with me, work with me, learn this. You ain't got to pay me to learn. I want to teach you how to do electrical. I'm going to teach you how to build a wall. I'm going to teach you how to do the plumbing. I'm going to teach you how to do the whole thing and do what? And still give you some money too? What's wrong with you? And then you don't show up. Or then one day, the kid says to me, "I got to work with my earpods in my ear." I'm calling him and he got the earpods here. I can't work without that. So you know something, my friend? I'm gonna teach you a lesson. Go home. Goodbye. Because guess what? You don't get to tell me, who's teaching you how to make a living beyond now, that you're gonna wear iPods because I gotta do it this way. Are you nuts? I'm giving you a trade.
We don't have those life lessons anymore, and those are life lessons we need. But I think one of the biggest things, and I actually like the way you brought all that back together, even in a whole different world, doing woodsmith work and doing contractual work, people still remember you from what you did that built that foundation, which was Nightlife Photo Guide. And I think people need to understand the value of brand integrity and just delivering. It doesn't matter what you do, deliver. And it's one of those days besides whatever Comcast is doing on my cable that is going out every 30 minutes. These are one of those conversations that I feel could go on for 2 to 3 hours. But we got to let our viewers get back to work. And Dred, I'm pretty sure you got something to build in the next 30 minutes or so. So I want to say to stay in the backstage. We appreciate you. To our people out there that's watching, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, share, and like. I hope you learned something. The biggest thing is learn what you don't know, stick with your brand, and even if you're ahead of the curve, sometimes you just got to chill out and wait for everything to catch up with you, because there's nothing wrong with being an innovator. Normally, innovators are in the front by themselves. So amongst that darkness, you will find a little bit of light, but just keep chasing the light. But it's a lonely world being an innovator, and it's a lonely world being a thought leader and a pioneer. And these guys traveled a lonely path, and it worked out for them. So to my two brothers, Black Men Rising, I salute you. I appreciate your mentorship and your friendship more than anything. And thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for continuing to be friends and a part of Medium 4 and a part of Tech Beats and Bytes, and just a part of my life. I really appreciate everything you guys have given me, because y'all put us in Miami in spaces we weren't at yet. So we wouldn't be what we are without you guys. We met a lot of people because of you guys. So that's Toya.
That's Mike.
And this is Tech Beats and Bytes.
Oh. I was on mute.